Morris, Director of the Motion Picture and Television Office of the Florida Department of Commerce. Welcome to Accent.
Thank you.
How's your Monday going so far?
Fantastic.
Okay, great. Glad to hear it. Now, I understand you and the Governor and the Secretary of Commerce went out to Hollywood. When was that trip?
That was in June 18th and 19th.
And what prompted that trip exactly?
Well, the Governor, since coming into office, has had a very high interest in the motion picture and television industry. He's very interested in bringing production to the state, as well as working on the long run in establishing producers, production companies who would reside here in the state. This trip was one of, we hope, many, to basically allow the Governor time to talk to the heads of the major studios, assure them that Florida does indeed want the motion picture and television industry, and offer our assistance to the companies.
And may I ask what specific motion picture companies you spoke with while you were out there?
Yes, we spoke to, well, first we had dinner with Disney Productions on Sunday evening, and then Monday we called on MGM Studios, 20th Century Fox, both the feature in and 20th Century Fox Television. Then we had a meeting with MCA Universal Studios, and a specific meeting with one producer from Universal, which is Tom Mount, who's doing the sequel to Smokey and the Bandit Part 2, which will be shot in Florida.
Great, glad to hear it. Now tell me this, you said you had dinner with Disney, right?
Right.
Was Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck in attendance at that dinner?
No, neither one.
Well, speaking of that, were there any stars that you met while you were out on this trip, or were you just speaking with executives primarily?
Well, the purpose was to talk to studio executives. We, of course, met Burt Reynolds when we were talking on Smokey and the Bandit Part 2. It was not our first meeting. The Governor had met with Burt before and asked for his input as to what we could do to bring the motion picture industry into Florida. So it was sort of a second meeting for the Governor and the Secretary of Commerce and myself.
Okay, I'm sure all the ladies watching want old Dan here to ask. Dan, what is Burt Reynolds really like?
He's a tremendously nice guy, very businesslike, particularly on this particular picture. He will be a co-producer, and he was very businesslike, down to what can the state provide? Is the state willing to provide certain things if we bring the picture in?
And is the state willing to provide?
Yes, we are.
Things? Well, that's
definitely.
Great. Okay. What pictures are currently shooting in Florida?
Well, we have a small picture down in Miami called Running Scared that's presently shooting.
And what's that about?
It's basically a chase type picture. Two guys get out of the service and happen to see a group of Cubans preparing for the Bay of Pigs invasion, and they have to run for their lives, so to speak.
And who's starring in that picture?
The star is John Saxon.
Okay. And what was the last picture made in Florida that is currently in release now?
Okay, the latest one was The Champ, which
was that
shot down in Miami at Hialeah Racetrack. That's currently in release. It's doing very well, particularly in the European countries. It's doing very well. And
for those viewers who haven't seen that movie yet, who are the stars?
That's John Voight, Faye Dunaway, and child star Ricky Schroeder.
Okay, I understand that child star is the up-and-coming child star. Am I correct about that?
He is fantastic. He's a super little guy.
Now, by chance, were you on the scene down there for any of that shooting?
Yes, I was on the set a couple of days. And it was a very good set. It was directed by Franco Zeffirelli, who is a very famous director.
Seems like he did Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet. He did Jesus of Nazareth for television. He's a very fine director.
Well, recently, a motion picture being shot down in the St. Petersburg area called Health has gotten some press. What can you tell us about that movie?
Okay, well, Health was done by Robert Altman.
Of course. Now, he did MASH, did he not?
Did
the
MASH.
Original movie version?
Right. He's done quite a few pictures. He's a very fine director and producer. He has his own company called Lionsgate Films, and you probably heard of the controversy on the picture. We had a little problem with one of the unions in the Tampa area. That was worked out. Mr. Altman accepted an invitation from the governor to come to the mansion. We had lunch with the governor. We talked out the whole situation, and Mr. Altman is one of our big supporters now.
Well, that's great. How much money was spent in the state of Florida during the shooting of Health?
Approximately $2 million.
Okay, so that's the real reason to have your office then, to promote this money into Florida. Is that correct?
That's one of the reasons, yes.
Okay, that's